Hey guys, this is Justin for breakintocre.com, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of refinancing a commercial real estate deal. So if you're considering refinancing a commercial real estate property, but you're not sure if it's the right choice for you, make sure to stick around for this video. Now, on this channel, we talk about real estate financial modeling and analysis and real estate investment careers. So if you're looking to break into the industry for the first time, or you're looking to buy your first commercial real estate deal, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. So if you've added some value to a property that you've owned over time and your equity value has increased in that property, you may have considered doing a cash out refinance. But even with the ability to potentially put cash in your pocket, is refinancing the right choice for you? And how do you determine what that right choice is? Well, by the end of this video, my goal for you is to know if the right choice for you is to refinance the property or to continue with the current loan that you have. So the biggest and probably most obvious pro is that you're able to pull out equity that you've built up over time without actually having to sell the property. So what I mean by this is, let's say, for example, you bought a $1 million property and you put a $700,000 loan on that property when you first bought the deal. Then let's say 3 years later, you paid down that loan balance to $600,000, but now you've added value to the property. Property values have increased in your area, and now that property is worth $1.5 million. Now, in that scenario, with your equity in the deal jumping from $300,000 when you first bought the deal up to $900,000 3 years later, oftentimes you're going to want to be able to unlock that equity and use that either to go out and buy a new deal or do needed renovations to the property that you own in order to continue adding value to the deal. So in order to do that, what you may do is decide to refinance the property. So when you refinance that property, now at $1.5 million, if you use that same 70% loan to value or LTV ratio, your total loan proceeds now are going to be $1,050,000. So that means that you can pay off that existing $600,000 loan, and at the end of the day, you'll have $450,000 left over after you've paid off that loan that you can either go out and buy a new property with or use to continue adding value to the property that you own. So this can be a great scenario because you're able to continue to own properties and potentially rinse and repeat this process where you can go out, buy a deal, add value, and continue building your portfolio by repeating this process over and over again. Now, the second big pro of refinancing your loan, and this is especially true in today's environment, is that you may be able to reduce your monthly payment. So especially for loans taken out many years ago at higher interest rates, this can make a huge difference in your overall cash flow at the deal. Now, there are really two main ways that you can go about reducing your monthly payment. Number one is to reduce your interest rate, and number two is to increase your amortization or payback period. And in an ideal world, you'd like to do both. So let's say, for example, we have that same $700,000 loan that we took out on that $1 million purchase. And let's also say that we have a 4.85% interest rate, and today we can refinance at a 4.35% interest rate. Now let's also say that you were able to increase your amortization period from 25 years to 30 years in the process. So just by changing those two things, dropping your interest rate by 50 basis points and increasing your amortization period by 5 years, you're able to reduce your annual loan payments by over $6,500 a year. Now that may not seem like much for a $1 million purchase, but when you think about it on a cash-on-cash return basis, that can increase your cash-on-cash return based on that equity you've invested in the deal by over 2% per year. Now, the last big pro that we're going to talk about is something that's overlooked by many investors outside of the institutional world, and that is that refinancing your property helps a lot with your time value of money investment metrics, like your internal rate of return. So if you have return metrics that have been required of you by your equity investors and have what's called a preferred rate of return based on an internal rate of return, the earlier you receive large cash inflows and the earlier you return capital to investors, the higher that internal rate of return is going to be. And with a higher internal rate of return, you're more likely to be in that promoted interest as a sponsor or the company or individual that's putting together that deal, and you'll ultimately have a higher probability of actually receiving promoted interest and achieving returns that are higher than that preferred return that you promised investors. So now from here, now that we've talked about the pros, let's talk about the potential cons of refinancing a deal. So number one is going to be your increased risk of default. So for that same property that you bought for $1 million and you put a $700,000 loan on that property, when you bought the property, that was at a 70% loan to value ratio. Essentially meaning that if the value of the property dropped any more than 30%, you would be underwater on that property and your loan amount would be greater than your actual property value. But if we assume that 3 years later, our property is worth $1.5 million and our outstanding loan balance is only $600,000, that means that our loan to value ratio at that time is down to 40%, which means that our property value would need to decrease more than 60% in order for us to be underwater on that deal. Now, if we go and refinance the deal back at a 70% loan to value ratio, yes, that allows us to pull out equity, but it also increases the chances that if things go badly on the property and we're not able to pay our debt service, that we lose our entire investment at that point. Now, con number two is related to this and also contradictory to one of the pros that we talked about earlier on in this video, and that is that your loan payment is likely to actually increase even if you have a lower interest rate. So the example that we used as our pro is using that same exact loan amount. So if we took out that same exact loan amount for $700,000 and our rate decreased and our amortization period increased, then yes, we would have a lower payment. However, oftentimes investors refinance because they want to pull out equity, and that requires a higher loan amount. And with that higher loan amount comes a higher monthly payment, even with a lower interest rate. So let's use that $1 million purchase example with a $700,000 loan. And let's say that loan this time was a 5% interest rate with a 25-year amortization period. Now, a $700,000 loan at 5% interest and 25 years of amortization produces a monthly payment of $4,092 per month. But now let's say we go to refinance and we refinance the property at a 4.35% interest rate. So a full 65 basis points below the interest rate that we had on the deal. Now let's also say that we keep that same amortization period of 25 years, but now since we're refinancing and we want that 70% loan to value ratio, our loan proceeds are going to be $1,050,000. So even with the significant drop in rate, our loan payment is going to go up from $4,092 a month to $5,747 per month. Now this is a difference of almost $20,000 per year and is a very realistic scenario for investors that are refinancing their properties. Now this is really important if you have investors who are used to seeing a certain distribution amount every month. So yes, they may receive a big check back returning a lot of their equity invested, but that monthly or quarterly payment that you're giving investors is likely going to drop if your annual loan payment increases by over $19,000 a year. Now this leads me to con number three, and that is that if you pull out equity on a real estate deal, you need to do something with that equity that you pulled out. So if we're talking about the example that we just used, yes, it's great to pull back out $450,000 of equity, but you also lose $20,000 a year of cash flow in your pocket. So now you've given yourself another job to go out and place that $450,000 in a new investment, even though you had an investment that was working well and producing cash flow for you. So not to say that this is necessarily a bad move, but it does create another variable that you need to control, and you'll need to make another educated decision about a solid investment. Now, either way you go, if you decide to refinance or you decide not to refinance, it's important for you to run an analysis and really see what the numbers say for your specific deal. Now, if you want to learn how to actually model a refinance in Excel, I'd recommend checking out my course, the Advanced Real Estate Financial Modeling Bootcamp, where we'll walk step by step through how to actually model a refinance for a real estate deal in Excel. And if you've landed on this video at a time that you're really going all in on real estate investing and financial modeling, and maybe trying to break into the commercial real estate private equity industry for the first time, you may also want to check out Break Into CRE Academy, and that's our premium training platform with all of my courses, all of my models, and some additional one-on-one support from me. So either way, I'll link both in the description below. So if you're looking to check out either of those, check the links in the description below this video. Now, if you like this video and want to see more content like this, make sure to let me know by hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and sharing this with anyone else who might find this helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.